Hey guys, it's Melissa here from melissaoatman.com. Welcome to Awaken Your Inner Awesomeness, a daily podcast devoted to spirituality and self-help. If you're new, I want to welcome you. If you're returning, welcome back. So today we have a special guest. We have Miss Kyla Plaxton, and I am super excited that she's here today because we are going to be talking about a topic that most of us out there have had to deal with. At least I know I did my whole life. I had to deal with very, very painful periods. I hated that time of the month. But Kyla has unlocked the code to her menstrual pain, and she used it to transform her life and to help find her purpose. And now she helps other women who are suffering from painful and debilitating periods with the 4 keys that will silence their period symptoms and take back control over their body. And I don't know about you ladies, but when I heard this, I was like, oh my gosh, where was she years ago? So I'm so excited to have you, Kyla. Welcome.
Thank you so much. What an amazing, just amazing conversation. I love how willing and open you are just to even talk about it. And what you said is a common, very common response that I get from women is like, I wish I had this when I was younger.
I want to throw something out there really quickly too, because I do have some male listeners and we are totally not male bashing today. And we love you and we're thankful for your support, but please continue to listen because if you're a male, you may have a wife or a daughter, or maybe you will have a wife or a daughter. And in listening to this conversation, this might be helpful for you too. So, or even if you just want to unlock the mysteriousness of women and who we are. So please stick around and listen as well because there will be something for you too. So Kyla,
Awesome.
tell us a little bit about yourself. Like how did you figure out how to get through the painful periods? I'm super curious about this.
Yeah, so my original trade of work is an acupressurist. And acupressure is based in traditional Chinese medicine. So, like the yin yang symbol, the 5 elements, and there's meridians and pressure points and all this. And so, part of acupressure is releasing the blocks from the body using pressure points and meridians. So pretty much for any symptom, what I found was that every symptom had some sort of mental aspect, an emotional aspect. It had, a location in the body, and they're trying to talk to us. So I was helping my clients with that. I was helping myself with that. Then as I was building my acupressure business, I would start to feel like get bad cramps, I'd get fatigue, I'd have this stuff, and I'd be a little bit out of commission, or I'd just be like, oh, I want to have all this gust up and go. And then at my period come around, I'd be like, like everything would kind of fall apart, or I'd be deflated and I'd be in pain and I want to sleep more and all this and that. And I was just like, what is happening? Like this cannot be why we have our period, to get in the way of our life every single month. And that really put me in the question. And when I did that, I started to answer with the tools I had through the acupressure. And from that, I started to apply, okay, right now I have my period. I'm really tired. Like, what is my tiredness trying to tell me? Maybe other than just go to sleep, because that's quite literal. But there was gifts as I continued to question the symptoms, and that's when my life really started to change on a path that I was creating.
That's really interesting. That was definitely one of the symptoms that used to plague me was fatigue and still does now and then. So what do you suggest then for women who really have these, and they can be very debilitating? I know that's a joke out there, like, oh, it must be her time of the month. But I remember when I was a teenager, and for me, sometimes I would be doubled over in pain when it was that time of the month. And then the fatigue that you described. So it can be very debilitating. So what exactly do you do to help women who are suffering from that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with women that are in extreme pain, we really need to tread lightly because it is it's a sensitive conversation. When somebody is dealing, you can't just say, oh, just question that pain symptom and it's going to go away. But I would say with a combination, so on my YouTube channel, I'm offering acupressure points for specific symptoms, and really start to, like, if you need to take something to dim the pain. But if you can get to that place, the core root of my work is basically start to meditate and be with these questions. And I have created a freebie download, to, like you said at the beginning, the 4 keys to bring you through a process you can apply for each pain. So, but for example, like actually how this works is like, so I was tired. I was working in my local health food store and as a fully trained acupressurist, and I'd have to get up early, like 5:36 or whatever, bike down to the deli, open it up before it opened at 7. And I love that job. I love the quick and the go of it. I love the people. I love the service. I'm a people person. It was great. But then I'd have my period and I was just like, okay, what, as I was in the inquiry, like, what is going on here? And when I really stopped to listen to what my body was trying to tell me, it was trying to tell me to um, not work for the man. It's telling me to have a life and a lifestyle that I could be flexible with. So and I had these acupressure tools. So it was really giving me the courage to step fully into my acupressure practice. And shortly after that, I became known as the fastest growing acupressurist on Vancouver Island. But I got to say, oh, this is like when I'm going to get my period. So I would book less clients. And yeah.
I have a question for you then. So do you, when you're working with women and you're actually using your method, are you helping them to find their purpose as well through their cycles? Is that kind of what you do?
For sure. Yeah, I'd say it's like a second level if we can get through the pain part, right? It's just like getting to that softening, because there can be quite a lot of defense around the conversation. Just like, well, my family's had endometriosis for the last 3 generations, right? So it's like, where are you that? But when they're ready, yeah, it's like to get underneath what their bodies are saying. And I'm really great at asking the questions. So I can actually, in the free Facebook group that goes with the download, in that group, I can actually work and answer those questions and be like, hey, I'm stuck here. This is my pain. I haven't been able to get underneath it. I can say, have you tried this question, or have you tried this question? And like, what does it look like when you're sitting with your symptom? Like, are there distractions? Do you have dogs running around all the time? Like, is there 5 to 10 minutes you can just go inward?
I think this is a really interesting, I've never myself thought about our monthly cycles in this way, but your theory then is that we can work through the pain by asking ourselves certain questions, and therefore basically we're digging through the layers of ourselves to really get to our core being and what our purpose is here on earth. Am I understanding you correctly?
Yeah, that is a beautiful way to say it. Yes.
That sounds very interesting to me. So can you kind of walk us through maybe how this works when you work with a particular client? So if someone were, say we had an audience member who's listening and said, you know what, I'm sick of having these painful and debilitating periods. So maybe it is trying to get me to really go within and look for my purpose. So how do you work with people when you work with them?
So the 4 keys are basically question, question, understand, allow, and then take new action. So the first step is in the questioning, and I highly recommend anyone who's listening is like, only start with one symptom at a time. And I would say, like, write out all your symptoms, choose the hardest one, or one that you feel like is more accessible. Like if cramps is too intense to get to right now. Maybe start with your fatigue or nausea or whatever it is. But I would choose the one that you're called to, but choose one, just one, and then bring it through the process. So first, yeah, so questioning it. So it's basically like bringing to life your pain and bringing it to the forefront through a meditation or just like going inward. And so if I used fatigue, I'd be like, okay, fatigue, like treating it like it's like a little being inside of you, like a baby or like a wounded child that needs some attention, and you're trying to figure out what this wounded child needs to thrive and feel better. So you're kind of talking to this fatigue symptom in that manner, like, hi, like, you're really, like, this is really bothering me and I'd love to work with you on it, like, are you willing to? And just hear, this is the second part, is the allow, is like, hear what is responding, like what answer is responding. And so that is beginning the process of the question and the allowing. And the understanding piece of it is to add, the 5 elemental stuff, which I mostly work in the earth element and the acupressure points, but really understanding like the blood, the menstrual cycle, pregnancy, the menopause, like all of it is placed in the spleen meridian, and the spleen is married with the stomach meridian. That's all in the earth element. So I highly recommend, don't get too, like, don't try to remember all that, but as you start to understand your body and apply the earth element characteristics, you'll start to understand yourself better. So again, it's like, okay, well, what does the earth element and my body have in common, and how can I come more into congruency with that? But then when you have the question and then you hear the answer and you allow it and you continue, that might be like a repetitive process, right? It's like a getting to know somebody new, right? It's like, why are you here? Well, like, you don't pay attention to me. You could hear, okay, well, like, what kind of attention are you looking for? Well, I'd like it if, like, you took baths and put like Epsom salts in them every night. It's like, okay, is that all you need? Well, actually, I'd also like it if you like went for a walk and like got fresh air down by the ocean also. Okay. So these are real actions that a symptom can communicate. And a lot of it can be just little ones of just like, because women put ourselves last most of the time, right? So it's like, we bathe the kids and the dogs and everything else, and then we're like, okay, and I'm too tired to bathe myself. And it's, for men, it can seem like such a like obvious thing. You're just like, if you need to have a bath, and have a bath. But it's like, well, it's not that simple all the time for women. So going within, it can be just this like barometer, I call it. Like, our period symptoms are barometer to like course correct ourselves so that we're in our true paths of treating ourselves like the beautiful women and the intuitive women that we truly are. But in some of these symptoms, as you follow them down, like say in this one, it's like, oh, I want to go for a walk on the water. But then you remember there's like this guy that's always sitting there that you kind of wish you would talk to, but you never have the courage. And your inner self is like guiding you to, put yourself out there, or like be available, to this person. That's just an example, but it's hard to know where somebody's path will take them.
Yeah, that sounds like a really interesting experiment, really. And I have always believed that our bodies do talk to us and we just sometimes don't listen. But I really think that that's fascinating, that you can get all of that from doing the work with just what's happening around the time of your period. That's amazing.
It's epic. I mean, personally, in my own life, like, it jump started my career. And also, I was with this man who I was in my early 20s, like 21. I was with a man who was 10 years older than me, and he had twin girls. And I really wanted a family. And he really cared about me, but it wasn't quite it. And I was settling. I was just taking what was given. And so like every month while I was with him, there's everything that would magnify about him. And and it was hard because I did love him and he actually proposed to me, but I had to get support on this one because my heart and my head were just like not there. But I knew something was off because every month during my period, this would blow up in my face. It'd be like he had like the top of the fridge was always covered in clutter and this junk drawer was like overfilling. And it just was like, I don't know, like it's nothing particular. And you can't say I'm not going to be with a guy because of a junk drawer, but it was just whatever my body was telling me, and at the end of all that, I decided to leave him. And then there was this other man that I had worked with and I'd wanted to be with for about 3 years. And when I left this other man, it made me available to the other guy I actually wanted to be with. And we ended up being together and getting married and having two beautiful children, and just put me on that path. And those are just a couple examples. But now with my period, it's very like I barely notice it. It lasts about 3 days. I don't have any pain at all. I actually enjoy it. And if I can just share like a little secret that might be like too much for somebody to understand or take in, my body and I like are so related that my period tells me when it's about to bleed, and I just go let it out. I call it letting down in the toilet, and I don't use anything to catch it or anything. It's not messy. It's just like we're just like buds.
Yeah, I must not be very good friends with mine. So.
Not to say that. It's definitely a practice. It was funny with my daughter when she got hers. I was like, well, here's some options, and then she's like, well, Mom, like, why do I have to wear anything? And I was like, oh, right. I was like, oh, that's kind of neat because that's like her first introduction. But I was like, well, honey, that takes time. Like you have to, that's a practice.
And that's interesting because you wrote a book, right? You wrote a book for young girls.
That's right. Yeah. I wrote it when my daughter Cleo was born, and she's 11 now. So it's been neat to see this thing I wrote for her in mind and for all girls, to have a powerful experience with their period and shift the context, but also real life tools inside the book, like how to use essential oils for pain and acupressure points and herbs, and how do you, extract the medicine, how do you make a tea, and like all that sort of stuff. And these are real tangible things that a young girl could go to a health food store and get these things and utilize them in a private way. Like if she does have a single dad or she doesn't feel comfortable talking about it yet, it's a little bit of a Bible, and she can also like track her period and what are the body parts and like what are the names and how does it work and all that. But it's called Little Women's Guide to Personal Power: How to Turn Your Monthly Menstruation into the Biggest Blessing of Your Life. And I swear if I wrote that today, I would not have named it that, but it's a long name. But anyways, it's available on my website under the tools section.
I think that's such a great tool, especially because I know that I personally have some single dads who listen to this podcast, and it's hard enough being a mom and talking to your daughter about what's going to happen. I remember my daughter's face being like, are you kidding me? What are you talking about? So I can imagine if you're a dad out there thinking, I don't really want to talk to her about it, or I don't know how, or I don't know what to say, this would be an awesome resource to have. And even if you're just a mom out there, I don't know if anyone out there was like me, but growing up, like my mom really didn't tell me too much about it. I learned about it in school, and I just, it was not like let's sit down and have this conversation and let's make you comfortable with it. There was nothing like that. And I think that it would have been really cool to have had a book or something, because I think my mom just wasn't very comfortable because her mom wasn't comfortable talking to her. And I think that happens so often. So it's really awesome that you created this tool for people who can, give this to their young girls. Or so if you know anyone who's either a single dad raising a daughter, or you just know someone who has daughters who are about to reach that age, this would be a great gift for those people, I think.
Yes. Thank you, Melissa. It was a gift to me, and I love sharing it to all the females, when they're ready.
I think it's very interesting too that you titled it a blessing, when so often we hear like, oh, it's a curse, right? We hear the complete opposite. And the truth is, it is a blessing, because this is what enables us to reproduce and to have our children. But when we're in that time of the month, so many of us don't see it as a blessing. So the fact that you said that is very interesting. But I'm also very interested by how you said that you enjoy that time of the month. Like, I've never said that in my life. I can tell you that right now.
Right. I'd love to expand more on that, because I hear when you're like, oh, I can know it's a blessing because of, gives me my children and stuff. But that was the whole point. I was like, we're not having children every single month and year after year. So like, what the heck is it for? And so, but what I saw was like, we have the power, that energetic, creative power during that, in our cycles, right? That is a magical, powerful gift. And so when you can harness the power for other creations, other births, other dreams, other inspirations in our life, not just human inspirations and creations, but other areas, that's when it becomes the real blessing, when you learn how to do that.
I'm gonna have to like look more into it.
I can't quite hear you.
Yeah, I'm reaching the stage now. I'm in my 40s. I just turned 43. And I'm looking at it now from going into the menopause stages. So for me, that's like a totally different, like, it's not what it once was. It's definitely, for me, eased up as I've gotten older. And of course, I'm not going to be having any more children. So now for me, it's how do you, and I'm sure that I have a lot of women out there who are in the same age range. How do you deal with the body and aging and this menopause process? Do you work with women going through menopause?
Yeah, I for sure can. And I do believe it's, it's the same idea where you would take your symptoms of menopause and start to break them down one by one and extract the conversation and guidance from those symptoms through the 4 keys. So I don't think, like, I'm in my late 30s, so I'm not quite there. I do feel the shift. Like, I've definitely felt the shifting of not being in my prime. It's like I'm still kind of there, but like it's starting to wane. And I think like that waning is a cycle. So I also know like a lot of, it's like I had my 2 kids also, and like now it's time is unknown, but I'm the question myself is like, I've heard is like the time for my dreams. It's the time for this. I wrote the book 10 years ago, but I was busy raising my children. So I feel like now my kids are a bit older and I have the time space to put into this dream, which is another creation, So.
I'm experiencing the same thing, because I'm a teacher, but I'm also shifting my career, adding my business on the side and doing readings and Reiki and past life regressions. And it's been exciting and interesting, but it's like I feel the shift for sure, that I'm going from one area of my life to a completely new chapter. And that's very exciting. Every stage of your life, it doesn't have to be, I know some people will say, oh, you're in the fall of your life, or you're in the winter of your life, and oh, it's about over. I don't look at it that way. I just feel like we're here to experience as much as we can. And it doesn't have to mean just because you're aging or you're moving through a different stage that, oh, that's all there is, or, that our bodies are giving up. I don't believe that at all. I believe age is really just It's just a number. It's a state of mind. I know people who are in their 80s who do not look it, do not act it. And then I know people who are in their 20s who act like they're 80s. So I think it's really all just a state of being.
For sure. And I'd be really curious if you applied, these tools to your menopausal process, what you'd find for yourself. I love that unveiling.
Yeah, it definitely would be interesting to see for sure. For sure. I love having this conversation with you. If anyone wants to get your book or wants to work with you, how can they get a hold of you?
I'd say the easiest way is my website. So www.kylaplaxton.com. You can also find me on Facebook on Kyla Plaxton. On Instagram and Twitter, it's I love my period. And then I have a YouTube channel, which is under Kyla Plaxton. And then there's the women's, sorry, I'm giving you a lot, but Women's Wisdom new show inside the Facebook group. So if you find me on Facebook, you should be able to find my Facebook group pretty easily. And yeah, I highly recommend unlocking the code. So if you go to www.kylaplaxton.com/unlock the code, you'll have access to download the PDF and start to work with it. And then inside the group, we can work deeper if it resonates with you. If you're like, oh, I want to do this, but I need help, inside the group you can get that help.
Awesome. And I'm going to put all of your contact information, the links to your Facebook groups and Instagram and your website, in the description to the podcast. So if you didn't quite catch it, don't worry, just go to the podcast notes and you can click on the links there to find Kyla. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here with me. And do you have any parting words of wisdom to anyone who may be out there listening?
I'd say if you're a woman, to really be in the receiving and the questioning and opening yourself to expanding the ability to trust yourself and your own inner guidance. And if you're a man, to support the woman, your daughter, your wife, your lover, your sister, your mother, whoever those women are, support them to also be on the path to trust themselves. Because inside of that is, greatness. The women are naturally want to nurture and love and support you, and take care of each other. And I really see an abundant, thriving world if women are able to come to their true nature and honor that path.
Great advice. And I especially love the advice of supporting the women in your life, because let me tell you, it's not always easy. And I think that really diving in and looking at yourself and your body and how all of that works. If I had known about this years ago, for sure, I would have jumped on this. You have no idea. And I definitely plan on taking a look at that for going through this next stage of my life. So if you're out there and you're listening and you've always had these issues with that time of the month, go check out Kyla's website. Go check out her Facebook page. She has a lot of great free resources for you, especially if you have young girls, if you're a parent and you're just struggling with what to do, how to explain this time of the month. Go check all of that out. I highly recommend that. I want to thank you so much for being here with us today, Kyla.
Thank you so much for having me, Melissa. It's a real honor. I love your openness and your curiosity and your questioning. You're so generous in the receiving of new information. Feel really supported. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I just love having other women on my show who have really dived into their purpose in life, and you can tell that you really have, and that you support other women with such love and caring. So I really, truly love that about you too.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, I want to thank you all for being here with us today. Again, you can go to the podcast notes to check out any information about Kyla. Also, I want to encourage you, if you like this podcast, please subscribe. Please leave comments. Please like it or leave a review from wherever you're listening, because that helps others to find me, which helps me in my mission, which is to help as many people heal as possible. Thank you to those of you who've already done that. Also, don't forget to follow me on social media. I go live Mondays at 6:30 Central on Facebook, where I do a free card reading. And if you show up for the live, I will pull a card especially for you. I also post videos to Instagram and IGTV, and I have free guided meditations on my YouTube channel, so check all of that out. If you want to work with me, if you'd like to have Reiki, a reading, a past life regression, or you'd like one-on-one life coaching, you can work with me. Go to melissaoatman.com. There you'll see a list of all the services I offer. You can book directly from my website and contact me to schedule. I hope that you guys have a beautiful day. I am sending you so much love and light, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye, guys.